Hi, it's Mitch from PickDawgz.com, and it is Wednesday, July the 10th, 2024, doing your first 5 innings picks. Of course, we've been mixing this up, doing it live, doing it recorded, and today going to be the recorded version. But of course, no matter which way we do it, we always do today in sports history. And today in sports history, in 1934, Carl Hubbell, listen to this one, strikes out Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Al Simmons, and Joe Cronin in order in the All-Star game. 5 consecutive strikeouts. That was the record. Unbelievable feat. And you look at the Hall of Famers that he struck out. Just pretty amazing stuff. But of course, we've been doing some pretty amazing stuff here at PickDawgz and some pretty amazing stuff in these first 5 inning videos. I look forward to crushing the books today. And of course, it doesn't even take us that long. It takes us less than 5 innings. Let's get right into it. We start off today's action in St. Louis, where the Cardinals are taking on the Royals, a makeup game for yesterday's rain out. We've got Andre Pallante once again going for the Cardinals. It's Alec Marsh, though, going in this early tilt for the Kansas City Royals. Of course, the Royals just 3-8 in their last 11 meetings against the Cardinals, just 2-6 in their last 8 in St. Louis. Marsh has been getting hit pretty hard, 4.57 ERA on the season, 5.52 over his last 3 games. Meanwhile, Pallante, 4.0 ERA, 3.06 over his last 3 games. He has spent a lot of times in the bullpen over the course of the season, but as of late, he has been a starter. Both these teams hitting the baseball pretty efficiently, 270 versus righties for the Cardinals over their last 10, and 269 for the Royals. But the thing is, with the home crowd in this one, just chomping at the bit to get a piece of those Royals. And of course, the way Marsh has been pitching, I gotta believe the Cardinals get to him. I'm gonna take the Cardinals in the first 5. For our next game, we head to Chicago, to the south side, for some more daytime Major League Baseball action as the White Sox host the Twins. Drew Thorpe on the bump for the White Sox and Simeon Woods Richardson on the mound for the Twins. While Thorpe's overall ERA is 3.71, that really is just one bad outing that he's had where he allowed 8 runs in his second career start. He's only pitched 5 games, but he has been outstanding. 1.47 ERA over his last 3, while Woods Richardson 3.48 ERA on the season and 4.24 over his last 3 starts. And over those 3 starts, well, that's where the Twins have tried to stretch him out beyond the 4-inning mark, which is where we've seen him most of his career. The Twins 21-7 in the last 28 meetings of these two teams, and the White Sox just 14-39 in their last 53 games overall. We know the Twins are crushing right-handed pitching to the tune of 311 over their last 10 games, while the White Sox at 246, which is a big upstep for them. Also hitting lefties at 267. I just think the White Sox at home, I'm loving Thorpe. I'm going to take the White Sox in the first 5. For our next game, we head to Baltimore, where the Orioles are taking on the Cubs. Corbin Burns on the bump for the O's. It's Shota Imanaga on the mound for the Cubs. And of course, the Cubs, Imanaga has pitched pretty decently, but at the same time, he has not, the Cubs bats have just really not been performing all that well this season. When we look at, Imanaga's numbers, so far coming into this game, last time out allowing 3 runs against the Phillies, 3 runs prior to that against the Giants, and 10 prior to that against the Mets. Boy, a far cry from that .86 ERA he had back in the beginning of June. We look at Corbin Burns, he has been sensational, 2.32 ERA for the season, 3.15 over his last 3 starts. We look at how these teams are hitting the baseball, and it's not even close, as the Orioles are hitting 258 versus left-handed pitching, and the Cubs a paltry 217 versus righties. I don't see how the Cubs are going to get anything mounted here against Burns. I'm going to take the O's for the first 5. We move on to the Motor City, Detroit, where the Tigers are taking on the Cleveland Guardians. It is Reese Olson on the mound here for the Tigers and Tanner Bibby on the mound for the Guardians. 2 guys that have pitched extremely well this season. Bibby, a little bit of an upside surprise, 3.67 ERA for the year, 3.78 over his last 3 starts, while Reese Olson had a couple of bumpy starts in there, but he has rebounded from that. He's got a 2.50 ERA over his last 3 starts, 3.22 for the season. The Tigers are just 3-13 14 in Olson's last 16 starts. So he has not gotten a lot of run support at all, and a lot of help from his teammates. Look at the way these teams are hitting the baseball. And the Tigers hitting 232 versus righties. The Guardians 236 versus righties. When looking at a subset of their last 10 games overall as team, the Guardians hitting 242 and the Tigers at 229. Tell you what, I think runs and hits might be tough to come by. I'll take the under in the first 5 of this one. We move on to Petco Park in San Diego, where the Padres are taking on the Mariners. It is Michael King on the bump for the Padres, and it's Bryce Miller on the mound for the Mariners. I've talked about this a lot this season, both in my long videos as well as in this first 5 inning series. And I believe Bryce Miller is the weak link in this Seattle rotation. He checks in with a 3.84 ERA, but we're starting to see those analytics come to fruition with a 6.14 ERA over his last 3 starts, while Michael King kind of staying even-keeled here with a 3.51 ERA on the season, 3.63 over his last 3 starts. The Mariners just haven't been very good on the road this season, 2-6 in their last 8, while the Padres have been killers at home, 10-3 in their last 13, 7-2 in their last 9 interleague games. And when it comes to hitting the baseball, the Padres hitting righties over their last 10 games at 259, the Mariners at 188 versus right-handed pitching. As a team, the Mariners hitting 190 over their last 10, and the Padres 280. I'll take the team that's knocking it out of the park, and I'll take the San Diego Padres in the first 5. We go to Tampa Bay, where the Rays are taking on the New York Yankees. It's Zach Eflin getting the ball here for the Rays. It's Marcus Stroman on the bump for the Yankees. And both these guys have been beaten up but good in their recent outings. But the thing is, the Rays, even though Eflin gets hit, they seem to hit when Eflin is on the mound, as they are 8-1 in Eflin's last 9 starts. Meanwhile, Stroman comes in with a 3.58 ERA on the season, while Eflin's at 4.19. But when you go down to a subset of their last 3 games, as in what have you done for me lately, Stroman blows up to a 6.19 ERA. Eflin is at 4.50. We dig into how these teams are hitting the baseball, and the Rays really struggling against righties, hitting 176 over their last 10, while the Yankees at 241. But we're well aware of the Yankees' problems that they've had overall. And we look at the way that, that they're hitting as a team, the Rays at 214 and the Yankees at 238. Tell you what, I just think Stroman is wearing down, though. I think the Rays hit him. I'm going to take the Rays in the first 5. We head to the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, where the Phillies are taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers in a game that many believe could be the championship series this year in the National League. The Dodgers have won 7 of their last 10 against the Phillies, but the thing is, the Phillies are home here, where they have been pretty solid, and of course at 45-17 in their last 62. Gavin Stone gets the ball for the Dodgers, 3.03 ERA on the season, while Chris Sanchez, the lefty, on the mound for the Phils, 2.96 ERA on the season. We look at them over their last 3 games, and very, very even. Stone at 3.12 ERA, while Sanchez at 3.15. The Dodgers, when we look at them versus left-handed pitching over the subset of their last 10 games, hitting just 239, while the Phillies hitting 244 against right-handed pitching. But I do believe not all righties and lefties are created equal, and if I see these 2 pitchers, I think Stone has been better, as Sanchez kind of got picked apart a little bit last time out. I'm going to take the Dodgers in the first 5 of this game. Go to Citi Field in New York, where the Mets are taking on the Washington Nationals. Luis Severino on the mound for the Metropolitans. It's Patrick Corbin on the mound for the Nationals. Of course, Patrick Corbin, last year of that big contract, he's got a 1-8 record to show for it and a 5.49 ERA. Does creep down to a 5.0 over his last 3 starts. I don't know if that's $50 million worth of pitcher, but that's just 1 year of that massive contract that he signed. Meanwhile, Luis Severino on the mound here for the Mets, 3.83 ERA over the season, with a 5.21 ERA over his last 3 starts. The Nationals have had their share of struggles at Citi Field, going 7-20 in their last 27 in New York, while the Mets 8-2 in their last 10 in their home ballpark. when we look at the way the Mets are hitting lefties, just absolutely crushing them at 271, but the Nationals crushing righties at 279. Two pitchers who appear absolutely lost out there. This is a good solid over in the first 5, and that's going to be my play. Let's head to Fenway Park in Boston, where the Red Sox are taking on the Oakland A's. It's Nick Pivetta on the mound for the Red Sox. It's J.P. Sears on the mound for the A's. J.P. Sears has been solid, but man, as of late, he has not been solid at all. He's been solid garbage. He's got a 4.74 ERA on the season, 8.03 over his last 3 starts. Even he's got to be disappointed in that. We look at Nick Pivetta for the Red Sox, and I'll tell you what, this guy's about as consistent gets. 4.06 ERA on the season, 4.70 over his last 3 starts. I didn't say spectacular, I said consistent, because these are pretty much right in line with his career numbers. The A's have always struggled in Boston, going 7-19 in the last 26 and 15-40 in their last 55 in Boston. That is a horrid winning percentage. And we look at the way the Red Sox hit lefties, just 148 this season, or over their last 10 games, while the A's versus righties, 226 over their last 10. Nobody's hitting nothing, and these two pitchers both get hit, but I think Sears gets hit a little harder. I'm going to take the Red Sox in the first 5. Let's head to the heart of it all, Ohio, Cincinnati, where the Reds are taking on the Colorado Rockies. It's Carson Spires on the mound for the Reds, and it's Kyle Freeland on the mound for the Rockies. Freeland got beaten up early this season, but since returning from the injured list, he has been straight fire. That 6.62 ERA on the season is 1.37 over his last 3 games, including the games pitched in Colorado. Meanwhile, Spires 3.64 on the season, but 4.32 over his last 3 starts. The Rockies have been one of the worst road teams in all of baseball, but when we look at the way that Freeland's pitched, we have to believe that he's going to keep them in it. And the Rockies hitting 244 over their last 10 games versus right-handed pitching, and the Reds hitting a paltry 188 versus left-handed pitching. When we look over at the course of the season, the Reds are hitting lefties generally a little bit better than that for the season, but the Rockies hitting righties significantly better as well. Nobody's hitting Freeland right now, and I'm not ready to bet against them. I'm going to take the Colorado Rockies in the first 5. For our next game, we headed back to St. Louis for Game 2 of the doubleheader. And of course, when betting doubleheaders, always a little bit tricky because you're not 100% sure if they're going to go with the same lineup. But the thing is, with the All-Star break on the way, you have to believe that starters are going to get pushed a little bit over this next few days. Sonny Gray gets the ball here for the Cardinals, while it's Michael Wacha who looks to be getting the start here for the Kansas City Royals. Gray checks in with a 3.30 ERA on the season, but it does balloon up to a 4.96 over his last 3 starts. We know that Wacha has been exceptional, and this has really been one of his best seasons that he's ever had. And as of late, he has been better than ever. We look at the way these teams are hitting right-handed pitching, and it is splitting hairs with the Cardinals at 270 and the Royals at 269, looking at a subset of their last 10 games. But the Royals overall have struggled in St. Louis, 3-8 in the last 11 meetings, 2-6 in the last 8 meetings in St. Louis. I'm going to roll with the Cardinals in the first 5 of this one. Let's go to Houston, where it's nothing but power outages, internet outages, and every other kind of outage as they recover from the hurricane. And we wish them, of course, the best in their relief efforts. But in this one, the Astros, they haven't need much relief at all, as this team has been on fire, and they host the Miami Marlins. Framber Valdez getting the ball for the Astros. He was touched up in one of his recent starts, but he still checks in with a 3.57 ERA over his last 3 starts, while Brian Honig, who goes for the Marlins, has a 1.99 ERA for the season and 3.00 for his last 3 starts. But what that doesn't tell you is that this guy pitches mostly as a reliever and spot starter, so 1 inning is all that he goes, and we're going to see that matchup game and the bullpen and all that other stuff, but it doesn't matter because the Astros are absolutely on fire right now. We've seen this so many times over the years from this team. It's like, it's coming, so why would anyone even doubt it to begin with? But I have to say, in this particular matchup, the way the Astros are hitting the baseball, righties, lefties, and everything else in between, I don't see how the Marlins are going to hang there. I'm going to take the Astros in the first 5, even with the bad price. We head to Milwaukee where the Brewers are taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Tobias Myers on the bump for the Brew Crew, while it's Martin Perez on the mound for the Pirates. Of course, Perez at this point bouncing around a little bit from team to team. But, what we saw from him last year in Texas is that, he was unable to really hold a spot in the starting rotation. This year he checks in with a 4.72 ERA, 4.40 over his last 3 starts, while the rookie Tobias Myers has been very solid, 3.52 ERA in the season, 4.24 over his last 3 starts. The Brewers always hot at home, 44-20 in their last 64 at home. Meanwhile, when we look at the way these teams are hitting the baseball, and the Brewers are crushing left-handed pitching to the tune of 300 over their last 10 games, while the Pirates hitting just 234 versus right-handed pitching. I kind of like a lot of things that the Pirates are doing. I think this is a team that has the ability to win now if they make a few moves, but I think at the same time, miserable spot. I'm going to take the Brewers, and that's going to be my free pick for the first 5. We take a look and walk into the Big A at Anaheim, where the Angels are taking on the Texas Rangers. And don't look now, but here come these Texas Rangers. They are swinging the bats, and they are making no excuses, absolutely hammering the baseballs. We're seeing their offensive numbers really start to elevate. With Griffin Canning going here for the Angels, we see that the Rangers are hitting right-handed pitching to the tune of 287 over their last 10 games. In fact, the Rangers overall as a team hitting 286 over their last 10 games. We look at the Angels versus right-handed pitching and Michael Lorenzen, who goes here for the Rangers, 242 over their last 10 games and 222 overall as a team over their last 10 games. Canning's numbers are regressing in a hurry, 4.87 ERA on the season, 4.67 over his last 3 starts, while Lorenzen's numbers are also going in the wrong direction, and his walk totals are starting to get a little bit higher up, but still, the way the Rangers are swinging the bats, there's no way I can go against them here. I'll take the Rangers in the first 5. For the next game, we make a stop out in the desert as the Arizona Diamondbacks are taking on the Atlanta Braves. Slade Ciccone on the mound here for the D-backs. It is Charlie Morton on the mound for the Braves. Ciccone has pitched pretty decently over the course of the season. Even though he's got a 6.10 ERA, I gotta say, I believe he's been better than that. He's just had a few implosions along the way. And really, if you look at his last 10 games, 7 of those have been on the road. So we gotta be a little bit lenient there too. But Charlie Morton not having a Morton type season, maybe a Morton first half of the season, 3.96 ERA, 4.15 over his last 3 starts. And when we look at the way these teams are hitting the baseball, Atlanta hitting righties just at 244 over their last 10, while the Diamondbacks at 247. I just think that the Diamondbacks come out swinging, and they certainly play a lot better at home. The Diamondbacks are gravitating towards 500, which is about where they were last year when they made that magical run all the way to the World Series. I'm going to take the D-backs here. That's where the value is in the first 5. We close out tonight's card in the city by the Bay, San Francisco, where the Giants are hosting the Toronto Blue Jays. It's Logan Webb on the bump for the Giants and Chris Bassett on the mound for the Jays. The odd thing about these two pitchers is they are so similar, it's not even funny. I mean, they don't walk a lot of guys. They might give up, a good amount of hits here and there, not a ton of runs across the plate. I mean, they are almost mirror images. I would say if the Blue Jays are going to break things down, San Francisco is a great destination for him. 3.43 ERA on the season for Bassett, 3.00 over his last 3, while Logan Webb 3.09 for the season, 3.60 over his last 3 games. The Giants do play well at home, going 6-2 in their last 8 games. While the Blue Jays, certainly we've seen the bats go, but of course we were comparing them to the Seattle Mariners over the weekend, who don't swing the bats at all. When we look at the way these teams are hitting, against right-handed pitching over their last 10, the Giants just slightly better at 229 to the Blue Jays 215. But I don't know. The Giants, they get home. They just seem to get into these streaks where things are rolling positive. I'm going to have to take them in the first 5. And that wraps up today's first 5 innings video. Of course, we're just a few weeks away from the NFL preseason, and we'll be adding NFL preseason matchups or doing separate NFL preseason first half matchups as far as our first half and first 5 innings video series goes. Of course, next week we have the Major League Baseball All-Star break. There'll be no videos for the first 5 innings Monday through Thursday. We will resume on Friday when Major League Baseball resumes. Of course, if you're looking for my best bets and best bets from the world's best handicappers, go to our website, PickDawgz.com, click on the Premium Picks tab. You can use the discount code PICK for 15% off. Of course, we also have PickDawgz merch, like this cool Nike zip-up dry fit that I'm wearing. I'm also wearing a PickDawgz hat. We've got other stuff as well. Click on the merchandise tab over at the website to get all of your PickDawgz gear. This is Mitch. I appreciate everyone that tunes in. Smash that like button, and I'll see you tomorrow with more first 5 innings picks.